Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Monday Collective Worship with me, Mr. Bray. I hope you've had a lovely weekend, feeling refreshed and ready for the week ahead. So, we have a new theme for this half term, which is perseverance. Now, this is a theme that I know you know a lot about already because it's one of our 3 school values, isn't it? And we can see the little symbol that we use for perseverance there, which shows some hands reaching for the stars, because that's what perseverance is all about. But that's exactly what we're going to think about today. We're going to think a little bit more about what the word perseverance means and where and when we need to use it in our lives. Today, though, the topic is running the race of life. So we all know what it means to run a race, and we can see some athletes there on the starting blocks getting ready to set off what looks like some sort of sprint or race. And we love running about in the playground, don't we? I know lots of you love having races in the playground and on the field in the summer as well. But this is about running the race of life. So I want you to have a think while I'm talking this morning and you're looking at the screen and looking at things that come up on the screen. Think about what that might mean, the race of life. Got a little Bible verse here just to start us off though, which says, "Let us run with perseverance the race that lies before us." And that's from the book of Hebrews. Now, it says the race that lies before us, and we've talked about the race of life and what possibly that might mean, and that is a race that is in front of us every day, isn't it? The race of life. Why don't you have a little moment right now to just pause the video and talk to somebody in the room or talk to yourself and tell yourself about it, of what you think the race of life might mean. What might that be? Okay, I hope you took a moment there just to talk about that or think about that. And now, to help us think about the race of life, I want to think about that word perseverance again, because it's a really important word this half term, and it's a really, really important word for us as a school, because as I said, it's one of our 3 school values. So there we can see the word perseverance down the side of your screen. And thinking about perseverance in relation to a race, maybe a running race or any sort of race, or as we talked about the race of life, I wanted to think about how we can show or how we need to show perseverance in a race. And we're going to use those letters to do that. First of all, pressing on. You have to keep going. You have to keep pressing on. When you get tired or out of breath in a running race, you don't just stop, do you? You have to keep going till you get to the end. That's the same in the race of life. Eager to continue, same thing. We need to be eager, we need to want to keep going, want to do it. Running the race. So we keep going, we keep on running, we don't stop. We do our best, we try our best. Now, when it comes to the race of life, I'm not sure that necessarily means trying to do things as quickly as possible, like when we're running a running race. But perhaps it's more to do with keeping on going in all those other different ways in our lives. Sticking with things, you can see the theme here, not giving in, sticking at it, keeping going. Encouraging each other, that's important, particularly important in the race of life, isn't it? That we support our friends and our families, that we keep each other going, keep each other encouraged and motivated. Valuing the support of others, giving out that encouragement and then receiving that and appreciating that, taking that on board. And that might be helping our learning from our teachers or grown-ups at home. That might be support from a friend when we're upset about something, and appreciating that support and appreciating those people encouraging us and being there for us. Eyes fixed on the target. We have to have that focus, don't we? We have to know when we're running a race or when we're trying to achieve anything really, which as you can see is what I'm talking about. We have to know what we're trying to get to, what we're trying to achieve. What is the goal? Reaching a goal over time, as I just said, it's about knowing what you're aiming for so that when you've got there, you know that you've achieved it and you can feel that sense of pride. aiming to complete a task. Sometimes we might not complete something in the time that we had available to us. That happens sometimes, particularly in that race of life. We've got so many jobs to do, so many things that we want to achieve, so many people we want to help, all those sorts of things, that sometimes, quite simply, we run out of time. Now, can we come back later to it? Can we come back the next day? Of course we can, because we should always have that aim to complete, to finish. Not giving up. I think that sums up all the things that we've already talked about, doesn't it? And it's a very good short summary of the word perseverance, isn't it? Not giving up, and particularly not giving up when things get tricky. Commitment. That is, again, something that we've already talked about. If you're committed to something, it means you don't just have a little try and then give up and move on to something else. You stick with it. You persevere, you keep going, you show that commitment. And finally, ending up where you want to. And as I said before, when we were talking about goals and sticking with things and our eyes fixed on the target, that's because we know where we want to get to and what we want to achieve. And that's quite straightforward, isn't it? In a running race, quite straightforward to know what we want to achieve in a running race. We want to get to the finish line, don't we? As quickly as possible, hopefully. But not quite so straightforward or obvious in the race of life. Sometimes we have to come up with our own goals, our own targets, think about the things that we want to do for us. It might involve helping other people, but we sometimes have to set those targets for us. Sometimes our teachers set them for us. Sometimes our parents, carers, our grown-ups in our lives give us targets and goals. But often the most important goals are the ones that we set for ourselves. Now, as you can see here, the letters down the side of my, what we'd call an acrostic poem, have created the word perseverance, and each line of the poem begins with a letter from the word perseverance. Now, I wondered if some of you at home might like to come up with some of your own acrostic poems. You don't have to use the word perseverance necessarily. Maybe you could use one of the other words that we've come up with today and thought about today, or a word of your own that is to do with perseverance, all about not giving up. And you could do those either at home or in school. That could be a little goal to set yourself, couldn't it? Okay, I just want to take a moment now for us to reflect on that like we always do. I want you to think about perseverance and what we've talked about today. Think about the acrostic poem that maybe you'll create. But then most importantly right now, what I'd like you to think about is, what are you trying to achieve at the moment? Is there a goal that you've set for yourself? Do you have something that you're trying to achieve? Maybe it's to get better at gymnastics in some way. Maybe it's to learn your 6 times table. Perhaps it's something in school, perhaps it's something out of school. To do with learning or not, it is up to you. But what are you aiming for? What are you striving for? I just get you to just put your heads down, close your eyes, and think about that for a moment. Okay, I hope you reflected and thought about what your targets are and goals are. And if you couldn't think about anything, or you couldn't come up with one, maybe have a look through your work in your learning, in your books. Maybe talk to a grown-up about it. What would you like to achieve? What would you like to get better at and improve? And then you have to use all those things that we talked about to persevere to try to get there. And I'd love to hear all about them. But for now, I will let you get on for the rest of the day. Have a lovely day and a lovely week, and we will speak to you all very soon. Bye bye.